You're listening to the God Life Culture Podcast, where faith
and what's trending collide. Welcome back to the latest episode of the God Life Culture Podcast. This is Eddie.
What's up, everyone? This is Miguel, and we are so excited that you are tuned in for another episode of the God Life Culture Podcast. If this is your first time listening or watching us, we want to make sure that you are subscribed. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share, comment, do all of the things. If you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify, be sure to follow us there and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe, share this video, and definitely stay tuned for our podcast journey. And to all of our new listeners, we just want to say thank you so much for choosing to listen to the God Life Culture Podcast.
Yes, choosing to listen, choosing to share, choosing to watch us.
Yeah.
All great things and things that we appreciate because it just allows us to reach a broader and broader audience. One of the things that we've been doing lately, as past the last couple of episodes, is including a music feature in the top of our episodes.
Yeah.
So today we have a music feature. Would you go ahead and share that with us?
Yeah, so this week's music feature is Taya by Taya, and you may know her from Hillsong, right? She's the one that sings Oceans and all the great Hillsong songs that we love. But this is her first album where it's just her, a solo album, and it's titled Taya, right? And I love it. It's 14 tracks, and I think it's so different than what she has done in the past with Hillsong. It's like a different vibe and totally different feel. But she talked on social media about how this was a project she was putting together in 2020, right when everything shut down, and most of this project was written and kind of put together through Zoom, right? But she closes out this statement basically saying that she says, "I pray that my album, every second of those 60 minutes we have together, would urge you to ask, who is Jesus Christ to me? What has he said? And will I go, even in mystery, up to the mountain to worship?" And she explains that the backdrop of her album is that moment where Abraham had to go up to sacrifice his son, right? And talks about how that was, one of the first biblical, examples of worship, of obedience to God. So definitely go and check out Taya's new album, Taya, and she has some great songs on there. Lover of My Soul is one of my favorites. For All of My Life, Getaway is another great song. So be sure to check out her album and let us know what you think.
Yeah, so today's episode is kind of like a random episode. We are just gonna do a bunch of different questions and stuff like that. I think especially with a lot of the things that are happening currently in the world, sometimes you kind of need a break. You kind of need just something that isn't as heavy, isn't as intense. It's not us giving advice on 12 things to do right or 12 things that this one is doing wrong or anything like that, but it's just more of a conversation of just like general questions and interest and things that you usually do with like a friend. Like maybe you're on a road trip or you guys are like sitting around having dinner, and there's always that one friend who always has a random thought or a random question, a random something that then goes ahead and ignites this full-blown conversation, and it usually has a domino effect because then that question leads to another question, and then you look at the clock and it's been like 4 hours later and you guys are just still there talking about like random things. So today we're just looking to do that.
Yeah,
just
so
like a real
welcome
chill
to our Q&A episode, right? We're going to make it sound so formal and planned, right? So we have just some questions. You ready to get into it?
Yes.
So I'll go first. I'll ask you first.
Yeah, I'll let you go.
All right. So when it comes to the idea of gifts, we're going to start there, right?
Okay.
So to you, does it matter how a gift is wrapped, or is it only the actual gift that matters? So this could be the card from, if it's just a gift card, let's say, is it, the card, the envelope, the bag, the wrapping, the bows, the card, everything. Does that matter, or just what's inside the gift?
To me, personally, it matters. Like I think
what matters?
That it be wrapped up and presented well. And I think just because it sets a pretense of like thoughtfulness. I think that, you know, if you are giving someone a gift, then it's in a plastic shopping bag, or it's in a paper bag, or it's in like a whatever, or maybe even you got a party bag from the 99-cent store and just thrown in there. It doesn't even have like tissue paper. It's kind of like one of those things where it's kind of like, I'm already disappointed and I haven't even opened it yet. You know, and I kind of think that there, you know, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be a hologram pops out. You know, on Instagram, you see all the time where it's like those boxes that you open it and then butterflies shoot at your face and confetti. I don't need all of that. And I also think it's important because I like to present good gifts.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's a pair of socks, but I want to make sure it's wrapped up nicely. I wrap up all the gifts. I wrap up our Christmas gifts. I wrap up our birthday presents. Like, I'm the wrapper in the family in more ways than one. No, like, you know, so it's because of the fact that I take the time to do that, I expect that in return, because I just think it makes it feel thoughtful versus it just be. And it could be, you could have given me a MacBook, or you could have given me 2 tickets to Hawaii. Yeah, I'll be excited about it. But for the 2 seconds or the minute before I open the gift, I'm like, what is this? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely the type that everything matters, right? So like you said, I think it expresses some thoughtfulness. It expresses that this wasn't a last minute thing. And if it was a last minute thing, like, whoa, good job that you were able to do all of this and make it look this way. But I think presentation matters. But I was going to agree with you that I think because you put in effort and you put in your 100% to giving gifts, that's why kind of you expect it in return. And I'm wondering, you know, if individuals out there who kind of don't really put that much energy into things, right? Because I've definitely have gotten gifts from individuals where it's not wrapped and it's just like, oh man, didn't have time to wrap. But here, right, I've gotten instead of like a gift card in a card, it's just been like, oh, I totally didn't have time to go in here, but here's the gift card, right? And it's like, that makes you feel a little weird. It's awkward. It's just like, okay, right? Yeah. But it may not matter to them, right? They could be the individual that to them, you could just give them, you know, the $50 cash and that's it. They're good. They put it in their pocket. They're done, right? Yeah. To me, I like the whole experience. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, yes, I think the way you wrap it matters. The way you tape it, I think matters. Yeah. And are you the person that likes to open your gifts in front of people?
Absolutely not.
Yes, I'm not either. So it's like one of those things where I feel like I am very expressive in my face and it is difficult for me to hide certain things. So I feel like if there was a gift that it wasn't like exactly what I wanted or exactly what I expect, or just kind of like, you know, one of those awkward gifts that you're like, yay, I don't really do this. Like, you know, I don't go fishing and I have now like, you know, a fishing hook or something.
A fishing set.
You know, yeah. It's almost like,
but I also feel that I agree with you on that as well, but I also think that even if I did like it, then I worry that it wasn't genuine enough and that it didn't show gratitude.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like that idea of I just don't know what to do. I don't know like how the to attention.
React. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, thank you. I'll open it alone, you know, and then I'll go through the emotions by myself and send you a message, regardless of what my emotions were. I will be sending you a thank you note or something like that. But I also think that I'm the type of person that even with like birthday cards or like cards in general, I will sit in that aisle and go through them and look at them and read them just because I want to, like, I feel like it should be personal. Yeah. Like it should mean something, even though, you know, 9 times out of 10 people don't sit down and read cards. They're just like looking to see if it has money. If it doesn't, they kind of like chuck
not
it.
Everyone.
Not everyone. 6 out of 10 people.
Right.
So. but I like to take the time to see if it's a message that I genuinely feel applies to them, if it's something that's personal, whether it looks like them, whether it has some type of design that is something that they're interested in, if it's their favorite color. Like I'm just like always thinking about like things like that, you know, because I don't know, I like the details. I like gift giving. Like that's one of the things I do like to do, you know, and I just think it matters to like pay attention to those little things.
I'm not the person that spends so long on getting the card because I'm more of the person that will sit there and write in the card. Yes. So I don't mind if the card doesn't really encompass everything I wanted to say, right? Because I already know that I'm going to sit there and write a whole letter. You know what I mean? And I am the one that saves cards from individuals that, you know, like I care about and that, you know, there's substance in there, right? So I'm the one that definitely sits there and reads through all the cards and, you know, people more not like so much what the card says,
Mm-hmm.
right? But more of the handwritten notes that people leave. But my dad is one that he will be in the aisle of cards and he will be there for a good 45 minutes reading cards, looking at like all of them, So there are those individuals that, again, even up to the card and what it says is super important.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, here's another question, and I think that we're talking about like gifts and it looking presentable, to looking nice, and I think that it attributes to this thing that is like alluring or beautiful. So why do humans find things other than humans beautiful? How does it help us? So other than like looking at someone and thinking that they're attractive, like why is it that we can find other things as beautiful in the world, and why does that benefit us, or does it? Maybe you think it's a waste of time.
I just need some clarification. Are you talking about why we think humans are beautiful?
No, things outside of humans.
Outside of humans, so objects and things.
Could be objects, scenery,
right.
Things, moments.
I think like anything, I think it triggers like something in you, like a moment, a memory, a thought, right? So like for me, I had this conversation a few weeks ago, right? Like with an amusement parks like Disney. To me, I absolutely love Disney, right? The amusement park, right?
Must be nice
because because to me it must be nice to like something.
No, to have gone to Disney.
Have gone, yes. So it's one of those things where as a child I went and I have so many great memories there. So whenever I see like something random from Disney, right, or even just being older and seeing it, I was on on YouTube or whatever, looking at videos, and this family, like where they were vlogging their trip there, and just seeing like their perspective on their trip and like the sceneries. I was remembering when I was there, when I took a picture there, when we went on that ride. So like these structures and buildings and things like that to me are beautiful, right? Because it triggers a memory in a good way and positive memory. So I think when it comes to anything outside of humans, right, when we can say and look at something and think that it's beautiful, I think it captures your eye. I think it speaks to you in one way or another, right? And I don't know, I think it's just a way of art or a way of nature or a way of just, just certain things just really speaking to you and kind of evoking a certain type of emotion, in you.
Yeah, I think all of that you said is correct. And I think that then, there's a whole like spiritual aspect of it as well, that, when you see something beautiful, you see a moment happening that is beautiful, it kind of reminds you of like who God is and what he can do. And, you may be having a funky day or feeling a little bit down, and you'll either like be in a moment where something beautiful happens, you witness something that to you, it's a pick me up emotionally, or even like sitting down, like, in a scenic view of something, and just like, at my job, like we have the rooftop, and then sometimes I go have lunch on the rooftop and just chilling and just looking at everything or whatever in the view. Sometimes it's calming and it's beautiful. But it's kind of like one of those things that it does something for you, like chemically or emotionally or mentally. It does something for you that kind of like mellows you out sometimes, or like gives you a pick me up, and I think that's why we can find things like that. It's
funny because the other day too, my wife was telling me about this memory that I had forgotten about, right? But it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure you're gonna remember this, when your wife was in the hospital getting ready to give birth.
You're talking about the heartbeat?
Yes. And for some, I guess they were checking the baby's heartbeat and they played it out loud.
Yes.
And I vividly remember hearing that heartbeat and the emotions. I remember it made a big deal. I almost cried. And it wasn't even my kid, right? But I remember just that moment in of itself being like, that was beautiful. Hearing that heartbeat, you know what I mean? So I already know I'm going to be the parent that is a mess at all of those situations. But yeah, so I do think that, life is beautiful.
Why did you find that moment? Do you have an idea or comprehend why you found that moment to be what it was to you?
I think, so one, I definitely know that if it was a random individual, then it wouldn't have had the same effect, right? I think it was obviously the people, right? You guys being you guys. But I don't know. I just think that was also the first time I had really, I guess as an adult, because I remember when my brother, was, I would go to like the appointments and stuff. So I remember going and hearing, his heartbeat and whatever, but I was a kid. I was like, 5, 6. So I don't know. I just think it was just super just impactful to hear that and just know like that's a human, and any day now, like, you know what I mean? Like it was a nice moment.
Yeah, and I think those moments do happen, and I think that more often than not, they actually, I think there's this whole thing with like beauty and emotions and stuff like that, where people tend to like, guys don't feel that way, or guys won't get emotional that way, or guys won't find things like that to be beautiful moments. And I'm like, listen, there are plenty of dads or like dudes in general just like feeling emotional over situations.
Yeah.
In general, even like moments like that, because it's kind of like, it's like, it's those moments where it's like, that's crazy. Like, just like that whole situation right now is really crazy. And then you like, because especially with the whole baby thing, it's kind of like you don't see them. So it's like, it's easy. Like, yeah, I see the bump, but it's like, there's no, like, it's to connect that there's something there that's living, that's growing and stuff like that. I get it. I get it. It was a funny, cool moment.
Yeah.
It was a cool moment.
Definitely. All right. So next question. We're switching gears. So how do you like to be comforted when you are upset, sad, or stressed?
How do I like to be comforted? That's a very intense question.
It is.
I think just like surface value, like just in general, that I am acknowledged, like that it's acknowledged by whoever it is or whomever. It could be a group of people. What was the question? That I'm upset or feeling discouraged?
When you're upset, when you're sad, how do you like
so
to
whatever that situation is, whenever I'm in a cloud or I'm in a funk or I'm feeling any type of negative something, I think it's important. I feel comforted when it is acknowledged that I feel that way and it's okay to feel that way, versus it being like, like, why you look like that? Or why are you upset? Or why are you this? Or why are you that? It's like, that's not helping. It's kind of like, that's just making me more upset or more annoyed or more whatever. So I think the first thing is just really like setting up the groundwork for being like acknowledging like, oh, okay, you're feeling it. So why do you feel that way? Or whatever. I think that's important. And then, I don't know, just, it depends. Different people, different things. I think that in general, as someone, I think validation is really important. Yeah. You just be validating your emotions, and then depending on who you are, like, dude, do you need a hug? Like, I don't know, maybe I need a hug in that moment or something like that. Or maybe I just need to be left alone. Sometimes that's also important as well, to know when to walk away from someone and just be like, all right, I think you just need a moment, but I just want you to know I'm here when you're ready. Like, it depends. It depends on every situation. Like, when it comes to you, like, what do you look for in those moments of needing to be like comforted?
So I definitely agree with you. I think it's more of, I want the other person to be like, to acknowledge and validate the fact like that what I'm feeling is what I'm feeling. I want them to understand where I'm coming from. So it's like, this is why I feel that way.
Yes, that's important.
Do you get that? Like, do you you know what I mean? I think that's super important. And I think, I've been on different sides of that with, like you said, with different groups of people, whether it's friends or family members, where, you want to be heard and understood.
Yes.
Right. And you just want to make sure people really feel what it is,
Yeah.
But it's, weirdly enough, there's only, I guess, a handful of people that I really experience this with or expect this with.
Yeah, that's
because
very true.
I don't like for people to know I'm upset.
Yes.
I don't like for people to know that I'm sad or that something is going on. So I think I hide that very well. So it's not very much like a thing where I'm walking into a room and I'm like, I want everyone here to know that I'm upset, and they better all come over here and comfort me and give me a hug and ask me, it's more of, I'm going to put on my brave face. We're going to get through this and we'll pick this up later. But from the people that are in my circle, the people that know, or the people that, I trust, or that, I care about and I know care about me, it's like, I want that validation. I want you to understand where I'm coming from and not think that I'm, crazy.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that for me, I think it's difficult, because I think that I'm an individual who doesn't walk into the room wanting the attention. Like, I'm the complete opposite of that. I just think that, unfortunately, I generate energy. So whether it is my face or whatever it is, or maybe I'm more like, depending on the situation, it could be a situation where I'm maybe always a little bit more hands-on, and then all of a sudden I'm no longer as hands-on. Maybe I'm taking a step back or something like that. And I think that, unfortunately, I have tells that kind of give off something is up. Yeah. And I think that one of the most annoying things that I've experienced with that is where people take it personal. So, I may be upset, or I may be annoyed, or I may be down, I may be whatever. And it's kind of like, instead of the other people, sorry about that. Instead of the other people like showing interest and like, hey, what's going on or whatever like that, it's more like, oh, what did I do now? Or it's more like, oh, okay, I'm offended that you're in a cloud. It's kind of like, people are like really weird when it comes to, at least in my experience. I think that people are really weird and not understanding the importance of validating that someone is in need of comfort, and they take it personal and then decide to create a narrative or decide to create a whole situation that wasn't even there to begin with. And then you have to pull yourself out of the funk to then become a therapist for them. And that is one of the most annoying things in the world, where you're going through something and then all of a sudden that caused someone else to create a whole situation. And then now you got to put your own emotions to the side, or your own situations to the side, to then address them.
Yeah.
And
that normally only happens, I think, with individuals who hold a strong leadership role.
Which part?
The idea of the other person then needing therapy. You know what I mean? I think those emotions and those feelings come about because you are the individual who is strong, or you are the individual who doesn't show that sign of weakness, or in their mind, that's not you. You wouldn't act that way. Like that really can't be what he's feeling, because that's not what he gives off. You know what I mean? So I think that leaders, in specific, I guess, have harder times and harder moments being human.
Yeah.
Right. And just having that moment where other people kind of don't rob that from them and then make it about them. And then it's like, okay, I need to now put my emotions to the side to address you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I think it's one of those things. It's like that, gift and curse, where it's like, you do have a certain amount of strength and a certain amount of, energy to continue. Right. But then at the same time, that can backfire, where then the individuals around you don't know how to handle when you're not strong.
Yeah. I agree with that. It's really a topsy-turvy in trying to like really balance that out. I think especially when it comes to people who are often finding themselves in leadership positions, or finding them not even maybe having the title, but finding themselves as the person that people go to get things done, or to give ideas, or to whatever, to be an executioner in the positive way. It's kind of like when you're not in an executioning spirit because you don't want to be executing anything, it kind of throws them off. And instead of them really like being generally invested in trying to bring you to a better place, they personalize it. And I think that's a whole nother podcast episode to talk about.
Noted.
But switching gears, kind of the same thing, and in the same line of thought. Do you enjoy overcoming challenges, or do you prefer things to be easy, and why?
I've come to the understanding that nothing will be easy. So I feel like I go into certain things expecting the challenge.
Okay.
Right? So, something could as simple as just, an idea I have in mind that I want to execute, right? I already kind of have in my mind it's not going to be easy, So I begin to prepare for the challenges, prepare for the pushback, prepare for what could go wrong. What are things that may need to be fixed or talked about ahead of time? What are things that are going to need to change, or how am I going to have to, navigate this situation and go around this and go around that? But overcoming the challenges, I definitely enjoy it when it's overcome. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think looking back and being like, man, overcame that, accomplished that, did that. That's a great feeling. Obviously, when you're in it, it's hard, you know what I mean, to really see that and think about that. But I think when things come easy, because I'm sure there are things I can't think of right now that have come pretty easy. You know what I mean? There's always something difficult about that process, or always something difficult that ends up coming about, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really think, anything really comes easy, but I definitely think that when you overcome and learn to kind of navigate, enjoy the easy moments, and then learn to navigate through the difficult moments, once you overcome that, that feeling of accomplishment and that feeling of persevering and that feeling of, pushing through when it was really hard, is great. And I think it's something that it's it's something that you carry and it becomes, your reference point for the next situation.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, man, overcame that. I can definitely overcome this. I went through that. Coming out of it, I can definitely push through and overcome this next obstacle.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when it comes to me, it depends because, we could look at challenges in different ways. I think that when you have a challenging objective, like, you want to accomplish something or you want to get something done or you want to put something together, I find those things to be enjoyable, because I find like it's a thing that keeps you busy and is a thing where you're kind of like setting a goal up for yourself. And those can be fun. Because the process can be fun and maybe it's a creative process behind it. The idea of like organizing and putting things together, like that's just the weird way my mind works. I find that to be fun. But when you're put in challenging situations or when you're having a challenging season in your life, those are not fun.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are not cute. Those are the ones that are not enjoyable in the middle of it, because they suck. Like that's really what it comes down to. At the end of the day, they're not enjoyable. It's not fun. A lot of times you're kind of like navigating your situation with not all the pieces of the puzzle or without instructions or like without a clear thought and understanding of what it is that you have to do. And you kind of find yourself really like just relying on God to be like, Lord, I need direction, or Lord, I need instruction, or Lord, I need an opening, or I need a this, or I need a that. And depending on what that challenge is, there are times where that's like you prayed about that today and tomorrow it's like resolved, or God has given you direction or instructions, or it's like you've been praying about that for 43 years and you're still waiting, so I think that's the whole challenging aspect of it. And it's kind of like you said, obviously after the fact, you can throw a whole party because you're like, yeah, it's amazing, it's great, it was, but no, it's kind of like you look at childbirth. A lot of times, like moms would talk about the fact that in the moment giving birth was not fun. That was not a fun challenge. Even like pregnancy sometimes is not a fun challenge because sometimes they have like really bad morning sickness or all day sickness and all these like complications that happen. But once that baby is born, it's like, oh, I got my prize. It's amazing, So I kind of look at it from that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good one. All right, let's see. Are you
dun, dun, dun.
a morning person or a night owl?
I think I can be both. I think that I think just me as a person, I am usually up early. I'm up always early just randomly. No matter. Like I don't think I sleep past 8 a.m. 9 never. I don't think I ever do. Unless it's like maybe we came from like a vigilia or something and we got home at 4 in the morning. But not even. But I also like tend to stay up late. Not as often now. I think that back in the day I could really like be up really, really late. I think now, especially with them kids, they just like it's a lot of work. I find myself maybe falling asleep a lot earlier, but I like if something's happening, like if we're doing a game night or we're out like at a restaurant or we're at this or that, a function, I'm not the type of person I'm like, it's 8:00. I'm ready to go to sleep. The only reason I would feel like that is if the function or the game night or the whatever isn't up to par, then it's kind of like, this is whack, I need to go. But I think in general, I could be both. Like, I think that there's a possibility that there are people that are out there that are not either or. They can wake up early and they can party or be up pretty late at night. And that's just natural to them. What do you think?
So I'm definitely not a morning person at all. I've never, I think, woken up before 9, like you said, just because I wanted to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like just out of like,
you do it because you have to go to work or you have to go to this.
I have to if I have something to do. I will sleep as much as I can. But now when it comes to like mornings, like don't talk to me, don't like that type of. It's very difficult to like get in that zone. But once I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone, right? So like if I have something to do at 7 a.m., right? At 6:30 a.m., like it's rough. 6:45 a.m., it's rough. But at 7 a.m., whatever I have to do starts, I'm on. I'm a morning person all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Outside of that, absolutely not. When it comes to being a night owl, I'm definitely more of a night person. I'll say that. Although like, my wife probably listening is like, how? Because I can fall asleep in 0.23 seconds. You know what I mean? Like I'm also that person.
Yeah, I think that's.
But again, when it comes to functions, when it comes to doing things at night, definitely would love, like, I'd rather do something at night than in the daytime. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just think I even, you know, when I was in school, like doing work and things like that, I feel like I was able to get more things done at night. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I've always been that person. The morning, I could not get up early to do homework. You know, like now I have students who will say like they get up sometimes at 5 a.m. to do their work. And
that's weird.
Right.
Do it right when you get home, kids.
Yeah, no. So it's one of those things where, again, definitely night owl. Whenever there is something that I have to be up and awake and alert for, I will be. But outside of that, if I could sleep till 1 o'clock in the afternoon and then live after that till morning, then never. that'll be good. Like I don't get headaches.
I definitely get headaches.
Yeah. No.
I guess my wife is exactly the same way. My wife is the type of person I
can take naps,
who can like sleep and it's not an issue. Like they wake up refreshed, rejuvenated. Like I'm like, if I get more than 8 hours of sleep, I'm pretty much done for the day. Like it's like headaches and stuff like that.
I'm the one that's counting when I go to sleep how many hours I'm getting. Like I'm already, so like by 10:30, I'm already like, you know, okay, I'm gonna get this. Like if I have nothing to do and nothing's really happening, you know, I'm already thinking like, all right, if I fall asleep by 11, I'm gonna have like a good like 11, like, you know, counting down the hours.
But I think you brought up the whole thing about like falling asleep quickly. I can knock out, like, because in my mind, I'm not tired, and I think that what happens is. I think what happens is that like if we're watching a movie or like we're watching a show or something like that, I'm no longer on like busy mode. Right. So it's kind of like I'm like chilling and it's like kind of like just watching something. Yeah. So then my body's like, oh, okay, you're no longer busy. Shut down. It's kind of like that's what happens.
Now, can you just fall asleep anywhere? So like you can be with a group of people, but you're tired and there's a couch in the corner. You can just go and knock out.
I could if I wanted to, because I like in the sense I would never, first of all, but I could if I wanted to, just because I'm thinking about growing up in the city and I would have to commute to school. So I would take like a 45-minute hour train, depending on like rush hour delays and stuff like that. I will knock out on that train for the 40 minutes in a packed subway car, not giving a hoot about anything. Right. And I will know to wake up. Like my body would know your stop is coming up. Like wake up. Like I'm not just like I can fall asleep in a car. Like if I wanted to, I can shut down anywhere. Yeah. So
I could definitely fall asleep like in a car, like you know, whatever. But for the most part in public, I won't be able to. Like I can be so tired. And I won't be able to just knock out like that. Like I need to be by myself. But I think that, you know, I've definitely been around people who like, we could be at a restaurant, like those late night, you know, services that would happen. And then like, we go out to eat afterwards. And they're at the table literally like knocked out. I don't get that. Like that I can't do. Falling asleep while driving. I've never experienced that before. Yes, to me, no. I've always been like, how can someone really fall asleep while driving? Yes,
like I've had to pull over, especially during when my wife and I were dating. You know, I lived in the city; she lived all the way out in Long Island in the boondocks, and it's like an hour commute. So it was like, you know, imagine we went to go see a Broadway show in the city. You know, it ended at whatever time it ended. Maybe we had dinner after, then to come back, and like, you know, it's kind of like sometimes it'll be really late, and I'm like, I have to drive home now. And it's like sometimes I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna pull over, or I'm just gonna like take a quick 20-minute nap first and then go, because I would feel it. Like I would feel my eyes closing. Sometimes I have like the windows down, music blasting, singing at the top of whatever to keep myself awake. Which is weird. Like, you know, that I wouldn't experience that anywhere else. Yeah. But driving, and I think it's because of that. It's that whole like driving, like obviously you're like busy in the sense that, you know, you're paying attention to your surroundings, but especially driving alone is like really quiet. It's just you. So I think your body's like, yeah, you can go to sleep now on the highway. It's like, no, you cannot. You better wake up. Yeah. So if you ever feel sleepy, pull over.
My mind goes back to like all those, you know, with how like back in the day when we were young, all still in school, not able to drive. There was this one individual. I'm not gonna shout out his name, but he knows who he is. Right?
Tom,
he used to always take us, and you know, we had it was some days where it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we were going in like Brooklyn one day. The next day we're going to Jersey, and you know, this individual would take us and would pick us all up at times. If we weren't able to get dropped off, would then drop us all off. And I remember I at one point moved, you know, and I moved to further out east, where it was like an extra 35 minutes from or 30 minutes from everybody. And it was just a lot, you know, but I remember he was definitely the type to be like, all right, guys, I need a 15-minute power nap, would pull over and we would all kind of like, not me all the time. I was the one that was up like making sure in 15 minutes we hit the road again. But definitely if you feel that way, you need to pull
I'm
over.
out. If I'm not the driver and we're on like one of those road trips where we like drove to Pennsylvania or whatever, and I'm sitting in the back, I am out. Like I have no shame with that. I'll be out. All right, moving forward, I didn't think going back into the idea of challenges. And I want you to really think about this, because I think there's an easy answer to this, which is like the generic one. But I want you to think about it. So it goes, do you think that challenges you have faced over your life have made you a better or worse person? I'll read it again. Do you think, to buy you time, do you think that the challenges you have faced over your life have made you a better or worse person?
So I want to say my immediate response would want to be yes, right? Because I think that's what
it's better or worse. To say.
So I'm sorry, for better.
Yes,
right. The challenges have made me a better person, right? I think that I can say that, and that is true. But I think that the process to become that better person because of certain challenges is more difficult. So, for example, I'm looking back, there are things I faced, right? So if we talk about just like diabetes, right? That was a big challenge in my life, still is. You know what I mean? I can say having that as a situation in my life that's an area of, you know, struggle or weakness, right? Has its obviously it's moments where it's upsetting. It's moments where it reminds you that it's still there. It's moments where you see it and it's just like the effects that it has on you is not fun, right? But there's so many positives that have come out of that situation, or so many moments or things that I've learned of being, you know, having perseverance and pushing through. Literally when your body doesn't want you to, or your body's telling you something else, having to really, you know, push through when you don't feel like it. You know what I mean? But now I can say that that's the end result. But like to get to that point, it's almost like there are days where it's really tough. And there are days where I wish it wasn't a thing. And there are days where I don't want that. And there are days where, you know, it's all consuming and takes over. So I think the end result is always, you know what? That challenge, it did make me a better person if you're focusing on the positive. Yeah. You know, but it's also easy to focus on all the things that situation or that experience stripped from you. You know what I mean? So it's like I could easily go back with that diabetes story and just think about all the things I probably wasn't able to do or struggle doing, things I can't eat, things I can't, and I can let that take over where that won't let me be a better person. You know what I mean? And I think the same thing happens when it comes to just having certain experiences, right? You can have such negative experiences, you know, with individuals who can really, you know, break your heart and betray you, or could really affect you in one way or another. You have the option in that moment to really live the rest of your life based off of those experiences and those emotions and feelings, or choose to see the positive, choose to see the flip side, choose to see, you know, the light in the midst of all of that and choose to be better. So I think it's, you know, can I think of moments or situations where challenges in my mind have made, you know, me maybe react a certain way or respond a certain way now? Yes, you know, but again, it's a choice to not allow that to affect those reactions and responses. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it really comes down to a choice where you will get it right sometimes and other times you may not, right? But ultimately those challenges, you want them to make you a better person.
Yeah, and I think that one of the things that I was thinking about for myself is that I think that perspective also plays a role in it. You know, because you look at someone who maybe went through, like, you put down the example of like maybe like a breakup or like bad relationships or bad friendships. Like there was like this whole like mess that happened, and there's people that will go through that and then continue to be their bubbly self, continue to be like super mega friendly, continue to be like very like generous with their time and their energy and all that other stuff. And there's other people that because of that experience will then choose to be more thoughtful or more selective with who they decide to spend time with and energy into and all that other stuff or whatever. And somebody from the outside looking in, we're like, oh, that's made you bitter, or that's made you more angry, or that's made you less of a happy person, and I say that because those are things that I've heard people say about me, where I'm just the type of individual that through time I've just learned to be more selective with who I decide to waste or invest, not waste. Invest. That went negative real quick. See, that's what I'm talking about. No, invest energy in, because there are times where you kind of have to invest time and energy in surface, like really not valuable energy with other people and stuff, just because you like in crossing with them and stuff like that.
Of friendships and relationships,
and then there's times where you can choose not to, and to me that's okay, but somebody looking back and be like, looking at it will be like, oh, that's messed up. You should invest time in someone who benefits you in no way, who isn't a good person, isn't doing anything productive for you or even for their like this. I'm like, no, I don't want to.
I think that it's okay even with those things about being bitter, resentful, or all of that. You know what? There may be days where that's how I feel. You know what I mean? There may be moments where I am acting that way. You know what I mean? But again, it's almost like the overall picture of choosing not to let those things overcome you. You know what I mean? So I think whatever experience you go through, again, you have the choice. Now, is that saying that you're not going to feel those things or those experiences that happened still affect you negatively till this day? That doesn't mean it didn't make you a better person.
Yes, but I also want to clarify, like, I think the point that I was driving home is that because you've made those hard decisions or you've taken those stands does not mean it's negative. Like, to someone from the outside that has no idea what you're thinking, how you're feeling, what does that do to you and all that other stuff, or what certain experiences made you feel, would think it's a negative thing. Yeah. But you sitting in that, you feel peace. You feel joy, you feel happy, you feel great, not entertaining certain things or not investing time and energy into certain things. But people from the outside will look at it as, oh, it's that situation that made them like that. And it's kind of like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm good. So I think that perspective can sometimes play a role in that as well. And whether or not you decide to explain that to people and you want to waste that energy and that time, that energy and that time in kind of explaining that to everybody around you. If you want to, you can. But sometimes you have to be okay with the understanding that I did this, like whatever challenges I went through my life made me experience certain things where I've had to make certain decisions. And I'm standing by those decisions because those decisions bring me peace. You may not understand those decisions. You may not like it. You may not agree with it. But to me, it makes me a better person to make those decisions versus trying to do what everyone else thinks would be better. Yeah. Because that's for you. Like, sometimes you have to have that moment of, no, this is for me. In order for me to be able to work, in order for me to be able to function, in order for me to be emotionally available, mentally available for the people that I want to be available for, then I must take these stands with other things. And that's okay. And not everybody's going to get that, because there's some people that live through life experiencing challenges and situations that kind of, bring them or drag them through the ringer or whatever the expression is, but continue to allow those situations to happen because of the idea that, no, but I must be like this or whatever. So I don't know. I don't even know if I answered the question, or I went on a completely different tangent. But somebody needed to hear that it is okay. It is okay for you to make that stand. Like, do whatever makes you happy and will benefit you and the people that you find valuable,
and be good for you.
Yeah, and be good for you.
Because a lot of times the things that can make us happy is not necessarily good in those moments. Because we could maybe want to let our emotions kind of take the best of us, and but definitely I think the idea of challenges, it's all about perspective.
Yes.
When you're in the middle of it, when you're going through it, when you come on the other side, when you feel a challenge is coming, You know, it's all about your perspective. And I think that's a good note to end
today's pod.
This episode in. And definitely, if you have any questions for us, we want to hear them. We got a few questions from certain individuals on our social media. So definitely be sure to follow us on Facebook and on Instagram at God Life Culture Podcast. And if you have a question or if you have a thought or something that you want to share with us and want our feedback on and our opinion on, definitely let us know. And we will have another Q&A episode real soon to talk about those things. But stay subscribed. Stay tuned. Make sure you share this podcast if you're listening and the podcast platform allows you to leave a rating, leave a review. Be sure to do that. It definitely helps put our podcast out there to more and more people.
Absolutely. So thank you once again for tuning in to the latest episode of the God Life Culture Podcast. That's God Life Culture. Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.